Yeah.
Cool. All right, guys. So, hey everyone, my name is Emilie Seitz. I'm a fourth year at the Pennsylvania College of Optometry at Salus University. After graduation, I'm going to be heading to North Carolina, and I'm going to be doing a residency at the VA in Salisbury. So that'll be in primary care and ocular disease. I've been documenting my journey in optometry school since my second year, and it's done on my Instagram account called EyeSeitz. But before we get started here, I just wanted to thank our friends at Defocus Media because they reached out and they said we wanted to help you guys hold this Zoom meeting and produce this content for you. So we're just really thankful to them. Defocus Media is a news source for all things optometry with a mission to defocus on media and refocus on patient care. For more articles, podcasts, and videos, visit defocusmedia.com. That's defocusmedia.com. I felt like such a radio person there. I wanted to welcome everyone to this discussion tonight. It's really interesting because as a fourth year, I've seen a lot of changes over optometry school, but I don't think anyone could expect the changes that we're seeing right now as a result of COVID-19. And so when I kind of thought about talking about the subject, I felt like the best way would be to truly talk to the students about it. So without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce you to the panel that we have tonight. So our first panelist is Yasmine Khanh. She goes by Yaz's Optom Journey on Instagram. Yasmine is a first-year student at PCO at Salus University. She discovered optometry in middle school and is excited that she now gets to pursue that passion. Ever the ambitious first year, she plans to pursue a residency and is interested in opening her own private practice one day. In addition to loving all things eyeballs, she's extremely adventurous, and in her free time, you can see her exploring the outdoors and finding the best cafes to study in.
Thank you, Emily.
Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining. So our next panelist is Khanh, and she goes by KT Opt on Instagram. Khanh is a second-year optometry student at the University of Houston College of Optometry. In her free time, she loves making educational videos and lifestyle videos through YouTube to help pre-optometry and current optometry students. She also loves running her Instagram, which showcases all the experiences that she has in optometry school. Say hi.
Hi.
All right, and our final panelist, who I'm trying to look out for, we're not sure what happened. I hope you didn't have the wrong time, East Coast Central Time, but it's going to be Tyler Mathenia. He goes by Future Optometrist on Instagram. Tyler's a third-year optometry student from Midwestern University, Chicago College of Optometry. He loves all things related to anterior segment disease, contact lenses, and over-the-top optometry offices. If you follow him on Instagram, you've definitely seen how creative he is. And he promises that he'll continue to push that envelope. Tyler is married to his college sweetheart, Megan, and together they enjoy Luminati's pizza, red wine at dinner, and any patio spot where they can bring their French bulldog, Louis. All right, so that's our panel here tonight. I'm really excited about doing this because I think it might be the first time through social media or anything where we've had a fourth year, a third year, a second year, and a first year all here to talk about what's going on. So that's something that I'm like really pumped about. I think we all have a presence on social media, and we know that our audience can kind of vary from the pre-optometry student all the way up to the practicing OD. So with that, I kind of wanted to just prep this conversation by asking you guys to tell us a little bit about what you were regularly doing, routinely doing, as part of your program before COVID-19 ended up affecting what you guys were doing. So Yasmine, do you want to kind of tell us a little bit about what you guys were doing in first year before COVID-19 ended up affecting your program?
Sure, of course. Thank you, Emily. Throughout the first year program, it's really the whole comprehensive curriculum in which we not only have like a bunch of classes, we have 9 courses in total. We also have labs to supplement those courses to kind of have a full scheme to apply all of those classes and knowledge and skills. Clinical skills is one of our biggest classes where we just kind of get to practice and really interact with students. We also have clinic hours where we get to go to the TEI Institute. Emily, you know a lot about that. You just did your externship there. Yeah. And that's like a great way to just kind of interact with patients and see firsthand what we'll be able to be doing in the future. And I think that's also a huge plus. In addition to all of that, we also had practicals that were coming up actually the week after COVID-19 kind of struck our goal. And I think it was a huge adjustment. But in the beginning, it was kind of all days we were with evidence. We were studying in the lab. We were all interacting with each other. And it's a great experience to kind of have everything integrated as one and just kind of be with all the students.
Yeah, and Khanh, as a second year, again, before COVID, what were you guys doing, doing at that time?
Yeah, so as our spring semester goes, it's our first time getting into family practice and seeing patients for the first time, so that was really exciting. For curriculum-wise, we were doing PEDS, we were starting PEDS, we were wrapping up ocular path, we were starting contact lens lab and all that. In preparation for our summer semester, because that's our first time going into clinic for the first time, for PEDS, OD med, contact lens, and stuff like that, which are unfortunately a little canceled. But yeah, so we were doing that, and our labs follow what we're learning. So, our labs were just fitting contact lens, how do they look, how you should fit, different patients and what you see and all that. And so since COVID-19 canceled everything, they're kind of switching things up a little bit for us. They're giving us cases of what we can expect, and so we just pretend that that case is your patient for the day, and you just work on that.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about, second year was so hands-on,
Yeah.
so much being in lab, especially like you're talking about with doing those contact lens fits. Yeah, it's interesting to think about how this is going to kind of change the way that optometry might be taught, and we'll get into that later.
Right.
When I saw Tyler joined us, Tyler, can you say hey?
Hey guys, so sorry. I read Central Time and I was like, oh my goodness, my bad.
That's all right. You joined us at the perfect moment. So Tyler,
awesome.
We read your bio. We know all about Illuminatis and red wine, Megan, and your friendship. We're just starting the conversation by talking about what we were routinely doing before COVID interrupted our regular schedule. So as a third year, I think it's really important to kind of get a good idea of what were you guys doing before this happened?
Yeah, so we were in a unique situation. So our school goes in the quarter system. So we were actually on a break, which was really nice because we had time to study for boards. And then our school started a week before. And so we just had clinic for a couple of days. And then we actually had the rest of the week off so we could study. So it was kind of nice. We hadn't really started real courses yet. And so we just allowed us to have plenty of time to get all of our last minute studying done and to do some practice tests and stuff like that, which was really nice. So then that following week, I was scheduled to take boards on Wednesday. And so we kind of all heard, okay, this COVID thing's happening, stuff is starting to cancel, like what's going on, And so then we found out that Monday evening, like super late, 9 o'clock, that it had been canceled. And we were all like, is it real? Everyone's just like texting each other, like, is this a rumor? Because some people got the email before others did. And we all just shut our laptops and cried for a little bit. And, what do you do at that point?
I remember, being a third year and the year before me actually ended up having a snowstorm. And so one of the later days, had kind of the same situation. I thought to myself, oh, that'd be awful, to have to reschedule, retake. And you guys are living through that. So that's kind of crazy. For us, I don't think that, at least for fourth years, we've been too affected or too disrupted, aside from graduation, because as someone asked about this, graduation was canceled. We were at PCO, we have 5 externships. And so we were finishing up the last of our externships, and we probably had about 2 more months to go. And then we were finished and ready to graduate. I had just heard about the news of my residency. So that was definitely like an exciting point to the week when everything started, the news from COVID started trickling in. But since then, they stopped our externships and let us know that graduation would be canceled and it would be virtual instead. So, definitely a lot of adjustments that needed to be made on behalf of those universities. And I kind of just wanted to hear from you guys, how have you or your schools kind of adjusted what you guys were doing, your program and everything kind of in between? Tyler, I saw that you said something on Instagram that was really interested in me about a new board state. So go ahead and kind of just explain that and explain again, what have your schools been doing? How have you been changing what you were supposed to keep on doing?
Definitely. Yeah. So, we got the news about that, and no one knows really when we're going back to campus. No one knows when boards are going to be next. And so we all were kind of just like, we had a Zoom call actually with our dean, and we are talking about it. And she's like, what if you just make up a date? Like, say, give yourself a month and say it's that date. So then that way you're still adequately preparing, and you're kind of like tricking your brain into thinking like, okay, it's going to be at this date. So you're still not just losing all the stuff that you've worked so hard for the past few months, even if it just looks like doing a few practice questions, or obviously you're not going to have to go so in depth in certain other materials, but it's been kind of just nice giving myself that goal at the end of it. So even if it's not really on May 5th, I still have something to work towards, And so we're in the middle of clinics right now too. So we're doing 2 clinic shifts a week normally. And so what our school's doing is kind of like you guys are saying too, they're doing like remote clinic sessions, which is pretty nice. So we have like 3 or 4 cases that they're going over with us. And it's kind of like you have a breakdown of patients they've maybe seen in the past or something like that. And so kind of like, what would you do? How would you treat this? And so it kind of gives us a different like version of clinic, but we're able to kind of break out into small groups and discuss different topics and stuff like that too, which has been really helpful. Obviously it's not real clinic, but it definitely makes up for being nothing at all.
Yeah. Does it make you a little nervous at all? Because externships are going to be right around the corner, and it'll be a little bit more of that break between when you saw a real patient and then are going to have a full schedule of patients.
Yes, I never even thought of that until one of my classmates brought that up too, and we were like, should we be worried about that? And everyone's kind of like, yeah, I mean, if you haven't refracted in this long, or just basic skills that you're not practicing daily or weekly that you just kind of like forget about and are expected to do at a rapid pace whenever you're going on rotation, right? So it'll be an adjustment, but hopefully it's like riding on a bike and getting back on it,
Definitely. Yeah, and Khanh, what about you? And now that everything shifted online, you were kind of talking a little bit more about what it's like, but how is your school, or how have you adjusted to this new kind of schedule?
Yeah, so we have online classes, so that's not too bad. It's like you're basically going to class just at like, different area. But our labs are a little shifted. Clinic, we, instead of meeting up at our normal time, we have like a Zoom meeting with our attending in our small groups. And so, they'll go over something for the day, and they'll teach us, a different thing every time. So it's kind of like a seminar-based Zoom meeting kind of thing. And for peds, let's say for peds lab, since we obviously can't practice on anyone, I'm not sure if you saw my my teddy bear video on Instagram. So that's basically how we're tested. You kind of do it on a person, or I guess in my case, I just got a teddy bear and I just practiced skills on that. And we dispense yeah, right. So we kind of make videos of us performing the skills on a person or whatever. Yeah, and so that's for peds, and that's doable because just like going through the motion like Tyler said, and hopefully it's kind of like riding a bike. So when we're going back to clinic, we can just like jump right into it. I would say contact lens is a little difficult. That's one of my hardest ones for me, but it's not too bad because they're giving us videos and cases and patient presentations from the past, and we're just trying to figure out how to approach it ourselves as if we have the patient in front of us. And I think this summer they're going to try. I think they're trying to hire actors for us to do Zoom calls with, as if we're like interacting with a real patient. So that'll be a little exciting. But for now, I guess I'm just a little nervous because I feel like we're going to be a little behind when we start 3rd year, because that's when we hit clinic for the first. That's when we hit clinic, but we won't have like the summer of like easing into it. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I had a conversation. That's a good point you bring up. I had a conversation with a 2nd year at our school the other day, and I was saying, I just hope the preceptors are kind of understanding. I think everyone's might be a little, it might, sorry, I muted myself. It might be a little bit of an adjustment, I think, when it comes to kind of that clinical aspect. And Yasmine, as a first year, how are you and how is the school adjusting to online courses and the online things now?
Yeah, of course. This has been one crazy situation because not only were we just studying for our exams, but we were also practicing for a 35-minute practice. So retinoscopy, we were doing JCC, we were doing subjective refraction, we were doing keratinometry. So all of these skills that we were person hours for, we haven't touched anything in the clinical skills lab for about 3 to 4 weeks now. So I think that's like the biggest stress over our shoulders is, like Tyler said, we don't know when we're going back with the situation. It could be next month, it can be in 3 months, it can be in 4. We just don't know. The biggest struggle with that is not losing those skills. So what I've been kind of doing is, instead of having the proctor with me, I just kind of verbally kind of go through the script, kind of just close my eyes and imagine myself in the clinical skills lab to kind of keep, refreshing those skills, refreshing those skits that we need to know. Unfortunately, our clinical skills lab has been put on hold, so we haven't had any, lab sessions because we don't have the equipment. However, for all of our other classes, everything has been posted online. So all of our lectures are on pen after normally recorded by our professors. And so for now, everything is online and we are having exams on Blackboard. I believe it's like lockdown mode. Do you guys also have that too? We have all of our exams there. And so the dates of our exams have mostly been the same date. It hasn't been really changed. So I think the biggest struggle is kind of staying disciplined at home and studying and keeping that schedule, really trying to get through material throughout the day and not get distracted by family or friends or your bed or your laptop and Netflix, because being in school mode but while being home is one of the biggest challenges that students are having across the country. And I think the biggest thing is just to be disciplined. And I think that was the adjustment, but once you really get into your flow, it gets easier. Take it day by day.
Yeah. You said something that I thought was really interesting about preparing for practicals. And you were saying, you just keep saying it out loud and practicing out loud. And my advice as a fourth year is that is excellent, because really and truly, that is what part 3 of your boards will be. You will have a script and you will just practice more than anything, going over the script, explaining and saying exactly what you do. So I think what you just said is like, you're taking actually probably the best step to prepare you not only for that 35 when it does come around, but for the last year, for fourth year, when you're ready to take part 3 of your board exam. So awesome job there.
Right.
I would say probably for us, like Tyler kind of was mentioning, they had to decide, how can we get these students to graduate without doing 2 more months of clinic? And I think the real struggle that they were having when it came to externships is because COVID is occurring, of course, state by state and different caseload. An extern in Montana and an Indian reservation might not have any interaction with COVID, but an extern who's in downtown Manhattan in New York might never be able to go back to clinic. So I think they had to figure out a way to really standardize it across the board. And that's why they decided we'll just end up canceling it. So what we're doing instead is 2 PAM style, and that's alluding to part 2, the way that they ask questions, PAM, but it's 2 PAM cases per week. And then we research about them and write some case reports. And then once a week, we have an online Blackboard meeting with small groups. So, I've had definitely a very, very light schedule. I think it's been nice to kind of have that free time back, and it's kind of weird because I'm not used to it. But like you guys are kind of saying, like, I feel like we all will, and even all of optometry, I think we'll kind of have to get back into it, and it'll be a little bit of a slow start, but I think we'll get right back to it in no time. Khanh and Yasmine, I wanted to ask you a little bit more specifically, because you guys as first years and second years, you've now adapted to this different kind of learning in optometry. Has it changed your way of thinking about how optometry can be taught or how optometry can be learned?
I want to say that I love the way that we're going right now. I feel like optometry is such a hands-on kind of field that it's really, you can't really do it online. It's one of those, like, classes, yeah, you can definitely learn online and, just learn the basics. But when it comes to it, the patient interaction, learning how to talk, learning how to put it in the EMR system, and just, going through the motion, that's very hands-on. So I just don't think this is a good thing in the future. Hopefully this will end soon.
Yasmine, what about you? How does it change, or what do you think about, your opinion on whether optometry can be taught or learned? Does it change anything that you previously thought about it?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with what you're saying, Khanh, because optometry is all interaction. It's interaction with your classmates. It's interaction with patient care. It's you have to use the slit lamp. Everything is hands-on in the profession, and that's just what I love so much about it. And to just be stuck at a computer and just watching lectures all day, it kind of takes away from, the actual experience of it, I feel like, because when you're at school and practicing clinical skills and being with your classmates, you're kind of getting a mix of both worlds into what you're going to be doing. And personally, for me, I like to use going to clinic as like an inspiration, as like a motivation. Okay, I'm going to study 4 hours of neuro because this is what I want to do in the future. I don't have that right now. I don't have that clinical skills experience. So I feel like that's what's lacking in my education. And there's also another point that I'm a little bit scared for is people are turning towards online exams, online eye exams, comprehensive ones. And what is that going to say for our future as optometrists? We don't want our patients turning towards just going to see their optometrist online or looking up their symptoms on an app. So I think that's what could also be something that we need to think about as future practitioners in the optometric field is if we're giving our patients, access to online care right now, what is that going to change in our field in the future? So I think, it's difficult as a student right now, just because we don't have really that interaction. We don't have that hands-on experience, but I think also in the future, we do need to think how it's going
To change patient care. Yeah, you make an excellent point. Like you're saying, in real world optometry right now, a lot of doctors are doing telemedicine, and that's kind of what she's talking about. I read a forum where a doc was saying, he diagnosed and treated and managed a red eye, and the patient said, why do I have to, in the future, why would I ever have to come in for this if you can do it through telemedicine? Right. So the kind of like the nuances of how this has affected real world optometry is really interesting. And Tyler, I think as third year and a fourth year, we might be paying attention a little bit more to what practitioners are going through. Do you feel like it's changed the way that you feel about the profession in any way?
Yeah, definitely. Like you guys are saying too, I was thinking about that too, the telemedicine thing. You are kind of seeing a lot of optometrists now who have been like so against it for so long, kind of resorting to doing that, because you kind of have to keep your doors open. And so, what's that going to look like for us in the future? Maybe we can see some benefits out of it and kind of maybe educate on like, here would be a good reason to go for telemedicine. And then here are some reasons why you still need to be coming to us in person as well, And so for one, I'm thankful I don't have to go through it right now. That's one stress that I do not envy current practice owners right now, because that is it's unreal. But we are kind of seeing some unique practice management insights, and like maybe it looks like, oh, I could develop an app that my patients can order contact lenses online to, get that second income coming in too, where they don't have to interact with my practice and they can do that online too, so some different things to brainstorm out of it as well.
Yeah, there's been a lot of interesting, as scary and kind of nerve-wracking COVID has been for a lot of practitioners, seeing practitioners file for unemployment, seeing owners apply for small business loans, it makes me a little nervous for my classmates because we're all kind of looking for jobs right now. And you think about, okay, usually it's not too hard for many optometrists that are graduating in any given class to find an opportunity in a market. But I'm a little worried when we're all trying to find that job, against other experienced practicing ODs. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. But I think that the situation has also made me reconsider you know, those secondary kinds of incomes within optometry, whether that be speakerships or, you know, promotions or working with other companies and media to get paid for writing and creating content. So I think that's an interesting thing that it's definitely shown. Yeah, guys, any questions, anything else to add? I think we're going to go ahead and answer some of the questions that were specifically asked through the Instagram. If you guys ever have any question and want to kind of utilize the chat, feel free to do that. I hope I know how to use the chat. But we'll go ahead and kind of address the ones that were already asked here on Instagram. So Dr. Stephanie Schumacher, she asked, how have optometry schools proposed handling fourth-year externships? So I kind of talked about this a little bit already, and then we'll have Tyler also, you know, comment on that. You know, like I said, we had 5 externships. Our last one was canceled altogether. For the future classes, the future fourth-year classes, what they had done is they had decided to cancel their spring. So PCO is a little different, where we'll do 5 rotations and we'll start right after boards typically. So they decided to cancel that spring one, and they're hoping and hopeful that they'll still get their summer rotation, but it's supposed to start in May. And I don't know that if it'll be just shortened from the typical 3 months. I'm not sure if it'll be done with altogether and it'll just kind of ride out until the end of COVID and normalcy and you can return to patient care. Tyler, have you heard any differently? When does CCO usually start their externship?
Yeah, we start around the same time, like late May, beginning of June too. And so we're kind of running into the same problem, you know, like we haven't had anyone cancel really at the moment, but it's still so undetermined what that looks like. And of course, once everyone goes back to practicing as normal, like it's going to be a lot different for us going, you know, so it's going to be a little bit different. And a lot of people are having a hard time like finding places to rent and having like housing and stuff like that. So they're like, how do we book it when we don't know the time frame, you know? So that looks a little bit different for everyone right now too. So people are just kind of trying to do for the best. A lot of Airbnbs, a lot of VRBOs that are very like understanding of the situation too. So that's really great for them. But you know, I'm thankfully doing my in-house rotation first at Schoool, so it's gonna be pretty easier for me to get adjusted to it all. But definitely worried for everyone else. It's gonna be a bit challenging just getting used to all of it.
Yeah, some tough decisions ahead. Like I remember housing was always one of the things that was super stressful because it's just a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And you know, you got to figure out how to make that work. We have another question from G. Brending, and I'm going to direct this one to Khanh and Yasmine, and also Tyler too, if you have any tips. What tips do you guys have for staying focused while you're studying at home?
I think mine would just be building a schedule. I really like working during like the normal office hours that you would usually, you know, go to school for. I've been setting aside about like, you know, 9 to 12 and then about 1 to 3, 1 to 4 every day, just like, you know, strictly doing work. And then, you know, I take the rest of the night off and just do whatever I want.
Yeah, and Yasmine, you're kind of saying too, how important you feel like it is to stick to the schedule.
Yeah, I think a few of like the biggest pointers that I've tried to implement into my schedule is wake up early, as if that you actually had school or class to go to. I felt like in the beginning of the whole quarantine, I would sleep in and my day would just be gone because I just wouldn't be productive. So I felt like when I would have 8 a.m.s all the time. So I started having the same sleep schedule as I did at school. So 8 a.m.s, then you should at 7 to kind of stimulate that same work ethic so you can kind of be more productive throughout the day if you work better in the morning. In addition to that, I think a workspace is really important for your productivity. So if you're working at your kitchen table with 3 other siblings, a dog, your parents, I feel like the productive you are throughout the day in your bedroom or in the basement, just your own space where you can really focus and use that space just to study. Don't use it to do anything else, like not Netflix I normally don't try to study in my bed because I feel like that's where I like to relax and just kind of watch movies. Like Khanh said, take the night off, every so often because you really deserve it. We're not just going through school, we're also going through a pandemic. So I think it's also important to just take it easy on yourself, but also stay disciplined throughout the day. In addition to exactly like a schedule, just because I had one of a review session with my neuroanatomy professor today, and she said that you should be treating your day as if you were at school still. And to keep up with all the material in optometry school, you can't really afford to take so many days off and just kind of relax for so often because you will get set behind. And because we're not at school, I feel like it's easy at home to like fall more and more behind without even realizing it because we don't have that, class schedule to like keep us going and keep us, in those classes. So I feel like that's where self-discipline really comes in.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head there. Like nothing, self-discipline becomes incredibly important, especially when it comes to boards. So Tyler, how have you been,
Right.
studying at home with relation to boards?
Yeah, it's like you kind of said, you're dealing with a pandemic too, so you kind of have to take it easy a bit too. And so like I had to mourn the loss of taking boards, so I gave myself just like a week off to chill out, sleep in, watch TV, just kind of breathe a little bit just because I've been running on E for so long too. And so then I completely co-sign what you guys are saying too. You just have to get up and wake up at your normal time and maybe put all of your classes in your calendar for that day, or whatever that looks like for you, just keeping on top of your stuff because it's going to pile up a ridiculous amount. Luckily, I'm not in as many classes right now, so it's not as important to do it at the specific time or anything like that. So I've been having a little bit more leisure with my PowerPoint watching and things of that nature too. But now I'm just trying to get back into a board study like regimen and how everything's going to be going through that, so it looks a little different every day, but I'm trying to get back to sticking to a set schedule for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting you said mourning a loss, and I remember exactly what it felt like when I was studying for boards. You have this endpoint, and so you're going full throttle to that endpoint.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've seen my own classmates get burned out with boards. Like someone I was studying with every day before we took boards, he said, I think I was at my peak a week, 2 weeks ago. So it definitely can be hard when you're going full throttle up to that point. But it sounds like you have come up with some good ways to just keep positive and kind of keep sane through all of it. The next question was from MK Walters, and she was asking, what is your school telling you about graduation ceremony? And when people ask questions, I'll typically just DM real quick back and say, all right, guys, like that's a great question. I'm going to address it on our live feed. To her, I said, that's a great question. I will address it and I will try not to cry because our graduation ceremony did end up getting canceled. We are going to have a virtual ceremony and we don't know exactly what that means. The nice thing though is we are going to get our hood and our regalia sent to us. Typically, at least at Salus PCO, we don't get to keep those things. We don't get to keep our doctoral hood or our gown or our cap. We usually just actually got to keep the tassel, and that was pretty much it. So I'm really glad that Salus decided, okay, we're going to go ahead and give you guys the opportunity to at least keep those things. So I think that's really nice. I think I'll celebrate maybe by doing like a professional photo shoot or something like that, just to make me feel like, okay, like it happened. It was a real thing.
You have to do something. You have to.
Right. The other thing that Salus is doing, because we're an interprofessional school, we do have other programs that graduate at different times. So they have invited us to come back in October and graduate alongside the physician's assistants. Our class is kind of talking about it. We're taking polls and voting on our class Facebook page, how much of us will not go at all, how much of us are undecided, and how much of us are going to plan on trying to get there and attend. I would say right now it's about 50-50. 50-50 is I'm not going and I'm not doing it at all. And then the other kind of 50% is the group that doesn't either doesn't know, so who knows which way they'll go, or is planning on going and doing it. I thought about it, but October is going to be a really tough time with residency, and it's going to be tough because I really want to get to that academy meeting. I'd love to do a poster presentation. So I think getting back to Philly will just be a little bit harder. So I think I might be in that other group that said, I don't think I'm going to be able to make it back, but I'm okay with that. Okay, and then actually great question too from DTomps25 asked, how are you all coping with the lack of didactic clinical patient care and practice right now? We had a little bit of discussion about this. Khanh, you were talking, I thought it was really interesting. You were talking about practicing on dog or stuffed animal, or your bear.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was my roommate's bear. But I've just been practicing, like basic skills with it, and self-promo. I mean, like I made YouTube videos on clinical skills that we have, gone through, and, slit lamp examinations and the smooth, like the motion of how we do things. And so I would, review those, doing like photometry and things that we're not usually doing. But other than that, like I guess the hired actors that they're going to do with us, and yeah, just like, virtual patients and stuff like that. I think that's the only way we can really learn from this point.
Yeah, we've been doing some like virtual, like a simulators too. They sent us out kind of links of just random. There was maybe like a slit lamp one and a different one for, I think it's called the GON project. And so it's just observing like optic nerves and things like that too, which has been really helpful, because it's just, familiarizing yourself with that again too, like you said. That's great.
Yeah, and Yasmine, like with regards to clinical patient care and practice, you kind of were saying that you've been just doing a lot of script reading and practicing that way. Is she on?
I think she was having really bad internet connection.
Yeah, we might have lost her. She was kind of saying that she was just reading a lot of the script. Oh, got you back.
Sorry about that.
Just a little bit
dropped
broken.
instantly.
Okay, we hear you a little bit more. Yeah, so we were kind of just talking about,
awesome.
Yeah, clinical practice and patient care and things like that. Someone is asking how we cope with that. How are you coping with it?
It's difficult. I definitely miss the clinical skills lab just because that's where we really get to like interact with them. Like I said before, something that I try to do without all the equipment with me is kind of just close my eyes and try to visualize the machinery, just kind of read out the script. So I kind of keep those skills intact throughout the whole time that we're off. However, with the equipment, we also have our retinoscope with us. We have our direct ophthalmoscope with us and our lens kit. So I do like to practice those skills on family that I'm quarantined with.
Yeah, that's I've seen like a couple people being like, oh, should I go ahead and practice on my dog and practice on, any living being?
I think someone post that. I think someone was doing BIO on their dog.
That'd be hard. That'd be really hard. I think my dog has cataracts actually. So I feel like I can see those without a slit lamp. But yeah, that's, Khanh, when you were saying that, that is something that I always have wanted to do, because how many times do you go and try and look up how to do a skill, and there's like nothing on the internet. So even filming yourself going through the skill is a great resource to have for when it comes time to be graded, whether it's, you're a fourth year and you're taking part 3 of boards, you can watch
That's
it
actually
back.
one of the reasons why I did it, because I wanted a group of videos I can go back and look at, because I went through the whole refraction, prelims and, photometry and slit lamp. So, slit lamp, I feel like we do that on a regular, so it's not something that I need refreshing on, but it's just like the most basic, what do you do after, use the auto refractor, stuff like that. And so that was the reason why I did it. It was kind of like for myself as well, but for everyone else to use.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for, having this discussion. I think it's really great to be able to talk to, again, everyone from different years and kind of come together and say, oh, this is how it's changed and this is kind of what's different. You know, we all have this social media platform. And so I think mentorship is not something that's totally unfamiliar to us. And sometimes it's best to hear from those who have kind of walked before us. So our last little question thing that we're going to do in a style where you're going to give advice to either your classmates and or the class below you. So I can start. One last piece of advice that you have for students in your class or the class below you. So the advice I would give to Tyler and all the third year students would be perseverance right now. You know, like I was saying, taking boards and having that end goal and kind of being disappointed that it's not there yet. I think the perseverance that you'll be able to exhibit right now is something that will last well into your career. I'm very positive that when you guys have the chance to go ahead and take those board exams, you guys will dominate it. And so if you can kind of keep in your mind, okay, just each day, I'm going to try and learn something that I didn't know before. I think that'll take you, like I said, way beyond just boards and last you throughout the rest of your career. Tyler, your turn.
Love it.
Pass that information and advice down. Let's go.
That's great.
What do you have for me, Tyler?
Yes. All right. So for Khanh and all the second years, so I would just, my advice as you're starting to see patients and experiencing all of that, I would say just start thinking more like a clinician. I'm sure you hear that every day of your life, but I mean, it's so true. How many times you just like accept what someone's telling you, or you just are like, okay, this is how it is, you know? But I think once I really started asking why, and like, why are we doing this? Why are we prescribing this? And even if you kind of are just like formulating a response and what if it's wrong, that's okay. Like, this is your time to learn that. And those are some of the mistakes like that you're making. You're going to remember that. You're going to be like, oh, this is why we do this drug. I remember this patient that went along with it, you know? And so just kind of making sure that you're tying all of those connections together. Something else that's really helped me a lot too is I keep it's just a note in my phone, but you can do it in a notebook, of course, too. And just start jotting down like likes and dislikes that you see from different preceptors that you have, or even if you're around different students, just how they're talking to their patients, or maybe how they're describing some different conditions or things like that. Those are something that you're really going to love as you're trying to educate your patients. And you're just like, man, what did they say about glaucoma? What did that look like again? You know, so if you can kind of just keep some of those things down to have in your back pocket too, I think it'll really serve you well as you go and start seeing patients full time.
Oh, I love that. Writing down all the little things I like.
Yeah.
Yasmine? So I know you haven't really done practice yet, but I remember my first year, it was just, I think we took about 22 to 25 credit hours of just hardcore classes all the time. And when you're not studying for one exam, you're studying for another and you're constantly testing. So what I want to say is that I guess for me, it was like remembering all those things. I know there's like a lot of information, but if you just try to, I guess, break it down and just try to really understand, it'll help you in the long run. Because your second year, everything you're learning, even from clinic, from ocular path, disease, pharm, all those things, they all build up from your knowledge from the first year. And so even though it's kind of like tiring remembering all those things, it really helps in the long run.
Thank you. So for all of the pre-optometry students, first of all, congratulations to the incoming class. So, congratulations to you all. And with this uncertain time, we're kind of stressed about.
Yeah, you might be cutting out a little bit, hon.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me see if I
don't think it's your fault. You can just go ahead and try again. We're kind of cutting out some of the stuff you were saying. I don't want to miss it.
Okay. So in the beginning, I wanted of 2024 school. I'm excited. Advice that I would want to give.
I think it's still kind of cutting out. Do you want to actually message what you would advise in the chat, and then we can read it?
Yeah.
Because actually the question that just came in, and I think would be, great, we can all kind of weigh in while Yasmine's giving her advice that she would give to pre-optometry students. This question is for everyone. You know, what are your thought processes on choosing between schools? Janine is saying that she might have to make a decision without having to see the schools in person, PCO, ICO, CCO, UHCO, versus rolling over apps to the beginning of the next cycle. What do you really like and dislike about being a student at your current school? Wow, that's like a tough question to answer. Does anyone want to start? I can kind of try and take a stab at it.
I guess for me, I went to undergrad in Houston, and I'm from Dallas, so I wanted a school that was in Texas. And I only applied to UHCO, so I don't have an opinion on other schools, but I will say UHCO is great. We have a really close-knit family feel. There's about 100 of us, and we kind of do everything together. Clinic is good. They have a really good way of integrating clinic and classes at the same time, and labs go along with that. And we have really good research facilities, and we're in one of the best cities, not being biased, but Houston's great. Like, you know, just like the life outside of school in general, because you're not going to be doing school all the time. Like the coffee shops, food, everything in Houston is pretty good.
Tyler, you want to go ahead and take a stab too? You know, what made you pick CCO?
Yeah, so I think that's a good point. If you've not been to one of the cities that you're applying to and you have the opportunity to at least visit one, so say you haven't been to Houston or you haven't been to Chicago, then I think you should definitely take that up so you can kind of get a feel for the atmosphere around the school too, if that's a possibility. But yeah, I really liked my school too. I felt like the family atmosphere, you know, whenever you walked in. And so I like a smaller class size. I like the facilities and the things they offer from that standpoint too. So, you know, it's really just personal preference. I hate that you might not be able to go toward the schools because you really do feel that just like at home feeling. So you might miss out on some of that too. But I think just look up the programs that, maybe not the programs necessarily, but the different like class schedule set up and see what that kind of looks like for each school and kind of weighs the pros and cons of that too. So I know each school is a little bit different in terms of that.
Yeah, you know, Janine, what you're kind of saying, I'm just texting Yasmine real quick to see if she wants to answer that, you know, give her advice out. But I think what you can take away from this, I know it's kind of scary because, like you said, you might not be able to physically go in person. And we're talking about things that we felt when we were there in person. I think what I want you to take away from this, though, is you're never going to pick a wrong school, okay? A lot of people get really nervous. They're like, what if I make the wrong choice? What if I make the wrong decision? And truly and honestly, there is no wrong decision. All of the schools that you go to, you know, might not be sharing them all right now, but they all have their pros and cons. You know, some things are better than others. PCO, I love because it's huge. Sometimes I hate it because it's huge. I love the patient care that we get because we're not in a great socioeconomic area, but then we don't live in a great socioeconomic area, you know, so there's pros and cons to any program. And I don't want that to be something that, you know, worries you. I want that to actually be something that you feel like more comfortable with. There really isn't too much of a wrong, like I said, wrong decision that you can make. But I think what you can do is do like what you're doing right now, where, you know, you just reach out to other students at those schools and just kind of get their feedback and see what they say about it. Cool. Okay. Let's see. Advice for getting school you're interested in. Okay. So Meg said, advice, reach out to people. Yes. Okay. Thanks. Meg said basically that, yeah, the same thing. You know, she was giving advice to Janine. She was saying, reach out to the people that you personally know or people on social media who go to the school. She's excited when we get to reach out to her, and she loves MCO for its nearness to home, new facilities, small class sizes, close-knit relationships that you form with your classmates and professors. That's awesome. And then Maggie had a question. She said, due to the pandemic, for 4th and 3rd years, are you considering corporate optometry more now? Something that's maybe more stable later on, or do you still want to pursue private practice? Tyler, any thoughts on that?
You know, that's a really good point. When I was just reading that, I haven't really thought a lot about it actually. So right now I obviously want to do a private practice in like a group situation, but that's not a bad idea. I guess it would look a little differently for where I'm trying to live too. So that's definitely going to add some variation into the decision making too. But I think it would be nice for the stability and to not have to deal with the business aspect of it as much. So yeah, maybe some corporate jobs would be a really good thing to look into for sure.
Yeah, I think when it comes to me, I actually had a conversation with Covalent Careers the other day. And Covalent Careers is a resource that kind of helps employees and optometrists get connected and find jobs. Obviously I have the residency, so that's going to be taking up majority of my time, but I was looking now to do what's called moonlighting. It's essentially when you work on the weekends and work on the side. So I was having a conversation with them and I said, I feel almost embarrassed to ask for a job right now. A lot of people are struggling. What is the difference? Has corporate slowed down at all? Have they, cut back as well, like some of the private practitioners might be? And their answer was not really. They really are still thinking ahead and still trying to get positions filled. So I think that definitely opens up my mind to potentially moonlighting with, and maybe signing a part-time contract with one of those private equities or corporate, which like makes me a little nervous to say because I just love I love what private practice stands for. But we're not talking about the same optometry that we were talking about 3 months ago. And I think I'm a realist. So when it comes to that, Yasmine, can you chime in now? Are you okay? Or are we still having problems? She texted me her advice. I heard you.
Awesome. No, all I want to optometry students know it's an uncertain time right now for all of the incoming class going in the fall. However, my advice for you guys would be just keep focusing on your undergraduate classes are heading right now. And I know all the offices are closed. So my primary advice would be like, go shadow, kind of go volunteer. But at this point, you should, try to contact to current students and seeing their situations, or also contact optometrists and see, if they can offer to you.
Yeah.
In addition, my summer right before I entered school I focused so much on volunteering and shadowing for so many years. So actually the summer right before I entered optometry school, I pursued my dream job of like where I didn't want to do anything related. And I think now that was the best time to do it versus you really want to do, I think pursue it because why?
Yeah. Good. Okay. Sorry, you cut out a little bit at the end there, but I feel like we got a good kind of synopsis. Guys, there's just some other kind of questions. What change, if any, would you like to see in the field of optometry in the next 10 years? Can I go for it?
Go for it.
I wanted telemedicine to be a thing before it had to be a thing. I would love to see telemedicine stay around. Real quick, short. What do you got, Khanh? What do you want to see in the next 10 years?
I guess since I live in Texas and we have one of the smallest scope of practice out of all the states in America, I guess just widening that scope and I guess being able to prescribe a little bit more than we are limited to, that'd be really cool. But yeah, just expanding our scope of practice a little bit.
Tyler?
I totally agree with that. That's exactly what I was going to say. I want to do lasers. I want to do some of that stuff that we're taught, and like stuff. We can totally do that, So I think it'd be really cool to get that just statewide, to get everyone on the same team for that. Definitely.
Yasmine?
I personally want to, I know that some ODs aren't allowed to, own their own private practice. They have to, like, when they're converged with like an MD. So I think, having that opportunity to actually like own it, I think that would be really amazing.
Yeah. Awesome. And then, okay, so we'll have this one be our last question because we're rounding out at an hour. But I feel like it'd be such a missed opportunity because we have all these social media all-stars on here right now. We're going to have to come back. If you guys want us to all come back together and focus just on social media, let us know in the chat. But we'll close out. Janine wants to know, she wants to just say thank you so much, everyone. Also, do you have any personal tips, tricks for starting and maintaining an OD Instagram? What about some of the favorite apps that you guys like to use? Go for it. Take it. Anyone?
I think my favorite app to use would be Lightroom. It's a really good app to edit your pictures. But I guess my tip is just to make it authentic, make it you. Don't compete with other optometry Instagrams. Like, it's okay if you don't have a lot of followers and not a lot of likes. Just do whatever you want to do, post whatever you want to post, and the followers will see how authentic and genuine you are, and then they'll come. So I guess, yeah.
Yasmine?
I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, throughout your adventure, you just want to show yourself and what you love. And if you love it, then other people will as well. So don't focus, too much on something. Just focus on your passion.
Tyler?
Yeah, I think we all do a really good job of this. And that's kind of why I started it from the get-go, is I really didn't see a huge optometry presence on Instagram. There was only just a few of us from the get-go. And so I think it's really cool that we all are kind of sharing our unique experiences from every school. And so I think it's really important to stay true, be honest. If you're having a bad day, share what's helping you along the way too. Favorite apps, I love Visco. So I do every year I pay $20 or whatever for all the filters. Oh yeah, I love it. That's my app. That's my favorite.
Never would have thought.
Yeah, same with me. To echo what everyone's been saying, authenticity 100% will take you the rest of the way. Even in times where I've been like, what am I going to do with EyeSeitz? I see everyone else blowing up and becoming big. Like, I was like, do I need to do more? And it just felt more natural and real to me to just keep growing at the pace I'm growing. What's the rush? We're not in any rush. And as long as I think we're authentic to a positive message that we're trying to share, that's pretty much what matters. My favorite app, though, by far, because I do so much video, is Video Shop. Video Shop is like my thing. It's just a quick way to edit videos, to cut, splice, insert, any kind of audio that you want. So Video Shop has to be my pick. All right, guys. Well, I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you again, Defocus Media, for letting us use your Zoom account and letting us record and communicate this message to all the followers that are out there. We'll have to come back, I guess, everyone in the chat saying that they want to see us do more. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll try and get this recorded and maybe uploaded somewhere if my laptop has enough space on it after 4 years of optometry school. You guys know. But yeah, we'll sign off, and everyone have a good rest of your night. Please stay safe and stay sane. Take care. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Hi, guys.